Hi Klaus, how are you doing today?
Great, great. Uh, it's super today.
Super Klaus today. I'm Super Klaus today with me. Fantastic.
But how are you, Tom? How are you doing today?
I mean, it's sunny here today in Austria, so can't complain. Weekend has been fantastic, and yeah, I look forward to our conversation today about some really interesting market developments on the SEO Google side of things.
Absolutely, absolutely. So also looking forward to that. But maybe let's start with a quick intro so that our audience
Yeah.
also knows a little bit more about us. And maybe you want to just start with that.
Yeah, happy to give a quick intro. I'm Thomas. I'm based here in Austria and I'm a B2B SaaS marketer. Worked over the last couple of years for startups, scale-ups, and enterprises, and now co-founded Otterly, a new AI SEO monitoring suite. So yeah, that's basically in a nutshell me. I love sports. So if any one of our audience is into running, biking, or tennis, hit me up. I'd love to exchange notes. I know you're a big sports person as well, Klaus. So I think that's my segue to your introduction.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks a lot. So yeah, I mean, I've done several Ironmans, which also kind of, I think this is where my persistence, maybe my persistence was first there and then Ironman came, but I think that's also something I bring to every kind of business that I built in the last 25 years. I bring persistence to it, but yeah, maybe we come to that later. So yeah, I'm Klaus-M. I'm a marketer slash entrepreneur and also salesperson. So I think that's a little bit the where you are the full-blown marketing guy. I'm the more on the sales and marketing sales
Yeah.
guy. So I think because we know each other now for a long time, but yeah. So I founded a couple of companies in the last 25 years, and they all have something to do with digital and products and software. And yeah, recently I switched to become more head of growth, more into growth marketing, because for me that's the combination of sales and marketing together to fulfill the goal of getting more customers and bring them valuable products. And that's what I really like. And on the path there, and that's actually where also met you, is like on the way of how to communicate successfully via content marketing. And that's how we met. And since I also spend a lot of time on learning more about how to write in content in the right way, how to market in the right way, I saw how important SEO is for so many companies, and it's basically a 70
Yeah.
billion dollar industry. And recently, when we talked, Tom, back then, I guess you can remember about this podcast, and the podcast mentioned that that Google and search will change. That's when I became curious, and that's actually where we found it or basically laid the foundation for Otterly, the new analytics tool for AI and LLMs, but more about that later. Let's maybe jump
Yeah.
into the topic we wanted to actually talk about. So I heard SEO is dead, Tom. Would you agree?
I love those news clickbaity headlines. Um, I definitely do not agree with that statement. I mean, maybe as a disclaimer, I already see the SEO managers and audiences bashing us. We're not SEO experts in any regards. Neither Klaus nor I would ever call myself an SEO expert. But I think where this session comes in and where you and I like to exchange notes, it's always around marketing, go to market, to your point, right? That marketing is shouldn't operate in silos with the whole sales product side of things, especially when you do SaaS businesses. But I mean, long story short, we're not SEO experts, and in any regards, we're also everything we talk about here today are is basically public knowledge. So I know we jump in a few topics on that as well. But with that disclaimer said, I think similar to you, Klaus, we've both been in leadership roles in the past where SEO plays a big factor, right? Organic traffic and how we acquire users via Google search is a major growth factor for the SaaS companies we worked in. And with that said, we as marketing teams would and still rely a lot on Google, right? And everything Google does. And with every big change, whenever Google changes something, be it the algorithm, be it the mechanic, be it the UX, I think we as marketers get slightly nervous. Ooh, what does this mean for us? What does this mean for our websites, for our traffic, for our KPIs, for our growth plans? And why am I putting that out there? I think we are entering this new era, this new evolution now again, where Google is changing stuff, right? Where Google already changed quite a few things over the past few months. So for everybody listening or watching this, maybe in Europe, those changes haven't been so visible compared to the US. But if you are based in the United States, for example, the first change already happened end of last year, beginning of this year, with Google introducing SGE, Search Generative Experiences. And SGE was kind of part of the Google Labs product. So you had to activate it in your Google account, and then you would see AI generated answers in your Google results pages. And Google basically introduced those SGE experiences as a, I would say, as a playground and as a way so they can answer the threat coming from ChatGPT and all of those new search platforms. And I mean, Google has seen, and there has been some big coverage on that as well. But to maybe jump ahead, in May this year, so May 2024, Google changed and rebranded everything under the AI overviews umbrella. So by May 2024, Google rolled out AI overviews, now more publicly, more broadly across the globe. It's not rolled out in every single country. And it's not available in most EU countries. But if you are in the US, if you're in the UK, you do see, in some occasions, AI-generated answers on top of the organic rankings. So is SEO dead? No, it's not dead, but it's changing because suddenly you and I, as marketing leaders, have to think, what's the implication of this, right? What's the implication of an AI overview being shown to our audiences above the fold before they even see organic rankings? So the first question is, how does that AI overview look like, right? And that AI overview, if you look at that AI overview, it basically takes a few seconds to load. It takes longer to load than the rest of the Google results page. But once it's there, it has different formats. It has different ways depending on the search query, depending on the search intent. It might show pure text. It might show just pure text with some citations to external links. Or it might show a few product selectors similar that you might see in Google, in the Google Shopping kind of UX. So it is really a very individual, very custom type of view. But the main question that we have now is an AI overview visible for our relevant set of keywords? And
But maybe if I interrupt you
yeah,
for a moment,
sure,
Tom,
go
but
ahead.
I think that because you already are quite ahead of I think many marketers right now, yeah, because it's funny when you mentioned that in May Google kind of launched this new way of how the search is in and will also be in the future. And I talked to many marketers, SEO marketers, and they all worried. I mean, they heard something, there will be something new, and they
Yeah,
worried. But you know how it is. Sometimes you know the stories about the frog. If you're turning on the water and they heat the water slowly, they might not jump out. It feels a little bit like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And I heard about like everyone is worrying, and now the reality sets in, and there are studies which I recently read about on search engine land, for example, that some sites dropped as much as 18 to 64%, which
Yeah.
is huge. I mean, normally if you watch the stock market, you always see when the stock market drops how many billions of dollars are
Yeah.
destroyed. In this case, no one really talks currently about that. How many billions of dollars are destroyed because your brand might not be found right now. So I think that's
Yeah.
a basically a
Yeah.
huge disaster. So it's maybe SEO is not dead,
Yeah.
but there is a strong and huge change in the market, in this SEO market, and you have to
Yeah.
be prepared for that. You know, I
Yeah.
think that the brands are not taking that seriously enough. I talked recently to a few huge brands, you know, and the digital CDOs, the chief digital officers, and they're aware of that. They're playing a little bit around with tools and ChatGPT, but they have not prepared for the storm that is coming. And I think that a lot will wake up in the nights in horror, and we'll see what that will do to
Mm.
their brands. Yeah, because as I said, it's a $70 billion market, and it will change a lot, and it will change also the rankings where brands are currently where they are found in, and they will
Yeah.
suddenly not find them.
Yeah.
So I think
Mm.
that's
So yes and no. I mean, yes, you are, and I think I'll share my screen real quick. I think the biggest statistic I've seen going around that might cause nightmares among marketing teams is actually an article from Gartner, the analyst firm. And Gartner kind of predicts that by 2028, our organic search traffic will decrease by 50%, right? So to your point, yes, there are statistics out there where we might see some big significant drops in organic traffic. But right now it's very hard to forecast that, right? And I would make the point, yes, maybe Gartner might be correct. We will see a traffic decline. But I do encourage everyone who's watching and listening to this, go check out your own Search Console, go check out your Google Analytics to see if you might already see a traffic decline. Depending on the industry you work in, there might be a traffic decline going on, yes. Um, so yeah, I think the fear is to some way there already today, but I think you don't need to be, I guess, that afraid in the sense of don't get feared and then stop what you're doing, right? Because SEO isn't that. And let's maybe go one step back, Klaus, right? Because why are people afraid of that, right? They are afraid because suddenly we have this thing called Google AI overviews being shown to our users. Now users might already get some answers, but the first question really is there an AI overview being shown to our audiences right now? And the reality is we don't know. We as marketers don't know. And if we look at the different traffic sources, and I'm sharing my screen here because I've done some online research on what public available data points tell us. And the reality is that Google doesn't tell us anything. Google doesn't tell us to which percentage they currently show an AI overview, for example, in the United States. So we cannot trust the main source, which is Google, because they're not publishing anything about how often do they show an AI overview on the Google results pages. If we look at SEMrush is a big SEO monitoring suite. They have a tool called SEMrush Sensor. And with their tool, they monitor US desktop and mobile searches, for example. And according to their statistic, in 2% of all US search queries on a desktop computer, there is an AI overview visible, shown to our users. So 2%, 2 out of 100 search queries will see an AI-generated answer. BrightEdge, another SEO software, mentioned an 8% frequency of AI overviews being shown. So as you can already see, 2% versus 8%. Where is the reality? And depending on the study, BrightEdge did a study back in July. This was a more static study. SEMrush looks at real-time data based on their data sources. But the list goes even on. If we look at, for example, SE ranking, it's another SEO monitoring tool who did a similar study where they analyzed about 100,000 keywords in September this year, and they claim 12% frequency. So if you look at all of that, all of those statistics, we have to say nobody knows anything, right? We don't know. We don't know if our AI overview, if an AI overview is shown in 2% of all search queries, or if it's more shown in 12% of all search queries. Maybe it is even higher. Google is testing a lot of things there and gradually rolling it out. And there are some statistics who even claim that in the future, 80% of all search queries on Google will have an AI-generated answer. So depending on that statistic, going back to the first statement, should you be afraid? What's the implication of that? It really depends, right? It depends, and it's right now very hard to generalize that fear in that statement. Does that make sense, Klaus? What do you think about that?
I mean, absolutely. So I think that's thanks a lot also for all the data provided. I believe that's I mean, as you said, I think that's Google is just testing the water slowly. They are very careful. That's their main product, and that has
Yeah.
to work, and they cannot afford to kind of have like something that is not really working. And as you know, the hallucinations in LLMs and that's a topic where even they have to um, overcome that and kind of find solutions for it. So that's, I think, why they are testing water so slowly, and it will be, yeah, as soon as
Yeah.
it works for them, they will basically bring it out. What I was wondering when I go back to what we originally said is that there are like websites that are dropping from 20 to 60%, which is horrible. I'm just
Mm.
wondering, normally, if the traffic is lost on the one end, shouldn't it appear on another end, like another website winning? But what I know so
Mm.
far is that even that some of the clicks are lost forever. Yeah, that
Mm.
there is a zero click
Yeah.
implication, and
Yeah.
maybe you can tell us a little bit about that topic because I think that's an interesting one, which kind of gives me a fear, to be honest. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, let's talk briefly about zero clicks, right? And what do we mean by that? We all think that Google is very simple, right? We all think that we as website providers, we as businesses, we create content, we publish them on our websites. Then people find those websites on Google, they click on our web links and end up on our website, right? That's the dream scenario. You search for a product online, our consumer is searching for a product online and ends up on our website buying. Um, and Google is that intermediate. Google is that provider of website traffic, right? That's why we love Google. We love Google because it's bringing so much organic traffic, meaning people searching for our products on the internet to us, to our websites. But the reality is Google is, and the whole internet is moving into a direction where Google, similar as with other social media platforms, they want to keep, and they are keeping users on their own platform, right? Because it's all about engagement. It's all about engaging those users on Google search pages. So Google has, because of its advertising business and the mechanic Google works, a natural interest in providing value already on the Google side of things. And this is where the zero click topic comes in, because the reality today, and this has to do with AI overviews, but not so much in a way as well, is that already today, if we look at 100 search queries on Google, if we look at those examples, right, we do see, and this is a statistic that I'm sharing here on my screen from Spark Toro. Spark Toro is an audience monitoring solution from Rand Fishkin, who some of you might know. But basically, according to that statistic, in the US, 58 out of 100 search queries end up with no click to our websites. Why is that the case? And the number in the EU is similar, it's 59. So let's say close to 60% of all Google searches end up no click, in no organic click. The reason for that is look, do a Google query yourself and look at all the stuff that is there.
Yeah.
There are YouTube links going to YouTube. Who owns YouTube? It's owned by Google. Look at the featured snippets. Similar people, ask similar questions. Here are similar questions they ask, and here's already the answer. Look at ads and how the whole paid ad versus organic kind of is always on the move. So there are many reasons why people don't click on our organic website links. And yeah, I just wanted to point that out here, right? Because with Google adding another layer, another feature called AI overviews, there's another reason why people might not click, might not end up on your website. And there's some really great content out there on zero-click marketing and why we as marketers should stop caring about those clicks, those organic clicks. We would need another hour to dive deeper on that. But the reality is Google is moving into a future where we can't expect more clicks coming from Google per se, but we can rather expect more zero-click searches. And that's the reality as of today.
But that seems also like a chance for many brands. I mean, it's if you are like if your brand comes
Yeah.
up in like these Google AI overviews, then you're the winner of the game. The winner takes it
Yeah.
all, as
Yeah.
this always said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if the winner takes it all, but I mean, I think maybe you can speak a bit about the topic around intent and what's the consequence of all of this from an intent-based search experience, and how do you look at that?
yeah. Now it's I think that's an interesting one because if you're looking at Google AI overviews, you're not only looking at a different kind of output in the results, but you're also looking at a different way how people start searching. And recently, like I don't know how it's with your friends when you're talking about like searching for something, but many of my friends often they tell me, hey, yeah, I looked it up in ChatGPT. Not they
Yeah.
Googled
Yeah.
it. Yeah, they're looking it up and they're not just putting in a keyword, they're asking actually a question. And they're like expecting an answer that gives a context to what they said. So not just skimming through like 50 results, blue links,
Yeah.
and finding the answer somewhere in a text where you scrape through or go quickly through the article, but rather having a decent answer that gives you exactly the the answer. And I mean
Yeah.
this points back to the problem with the zero clicks because you expect the answer already in Google and you don't want to go back to the other ones. But what
Yeah.
does this mean? And I had actually a call on Friday and this was super interesting because we talked with a huge company about like the keywords versus the prompts and the marketers were aware of this topic, but they actually were not 100% sure how can they translate a keyword that is maybe user feedback or
Mm.
SEO analytics or something
Mm.
similar into a prompt. How would a user ask that? And that's
Mm.
what also where Google is heading from my perspective. What I've read so far is like that, and I mean it's very obvious because keywords currently, and we know how it works. You know, we have done that ourselves maybe. Keywords is like sometimes you stuff an article with a keyword. You know, you just the quantity of an article. I know that's high quality articles, of course, get a better traffic, but there are SEO tactics today where you're stuffing articles and it's still working to a certain extent. However, with the rise of LLMs in the AI, the LLM understands the context in the article better than it could until now.
Yeah.
And this means that simple keywords will not be the goal. The LLM or searches, AI-based searches. I don't even want to just mention Google because there is ChatGPT. We all have used ChatGPT, and there is maybe you have already heard about Perplexity, and there are others on the
Yeah.
rise that are based on LLMs. They're understanding the context and they are using prompts and not keywords anymore. And these prompts, the intents of the users also kind of address the user pains and the goals of the users. And that changes basically the results that you are getting. And so
Yeah.
it will become more important that you focus from pure keyword analysis as it is today to a more intent focused, let's call it prompt analysis, and figure out what are the relevant prompts for your business in the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's an essential thing where marketers have to start changing their perspective, and
Yeah.
also their analysis and how their agencies will work, and also what tools they are using. And I guess that's also why certain tools, and as we also revealed,
Yeah.
we are building one that is helping you in this perspective. And there are many tools rising right now that become potentially very important in the future. And
Yeah.
maybe, Tom, you have some tools that we can, or some evolvements that you see right now around tools that are for,
Yeah.
maybe it's not SEO analytics anymore. It's more like GAIO. Instead of
Yeah.
SEO, it's GAIO,
Yeah.
generative AI optimization. We don't
Okay.
know, but yeah, there is definitely a change, and maybe you have some perspective on that, Tom.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, let's just to add one comment to what you said. I think the whole we started the conversation with, is SEO kind of dying, right? Or is, put it differently, is Google stealing our organic traffic? We started that conversation with that, and you just said, I think, a very important thing, which is it's we also have to reflect how our users and our consumers are changing their behavior, going from I'm looking for a keyword on Google to I'm looking for a long tail conversational prompt on ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Google, right? No matter the platform, it might be a way more personalized search prompt, right? Way more personalized intent-based search query. And I think this is very important to mention, because I'm sure we as marketers have our keyword lists, right? We have our keyword monitoring list where we monitor 100,000, 10,000 keywords that are relevant to us from an SEO perspective. And I do encourage everyone listening to this to go look at this list and translate it into prompts, translate it into conversational queries, because there might be many variations where your content, your brand is already shown today, also on those new AI search platforms, and you simply don't know it. But how can you monitor? How can you know it on scale, right? We all operate in a knowledge industry. So only if you know, you as a marketer can act on it, right? So, and this brings us to the tools. And if we look at the tools, the reality is, and you already mentioned that, most traditional monitoring tools, be it on the SEO or brand side of things, cannot monitor LLMs, do not monitor right now pure LLM output or what's going on ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google AI overviews. And that's why we built Otterly in the first place, to give marketers a tool where they can monitor and do that. So real quick, let's jump in, right? When we look at those challenges that we were just described, at Otterly right now, we give marketers a tool to easily monitor any keyword, any prompt on Perplexity AI, Google AI overviews, and ChatGPT. So we basically help you answer the question on A, am I visible? Is my brand visible? And B, am I potentially getting traffic by being cited on those platforms, by being cited and linked on those platforms? So if you sign up for Otterly, you can basically monitor any new keyword. You can monitor and add any keyword that is important for you. Klaus, you mentioned the SEO analytics space. So let's maybe try best SEO analytics software for marketers. That could be a prompt I'm interested in as a marketer, right? As of today. So let's monitor that keyword for a moment and see which type of brands are visible and which type of backlinks are visible there. This will take a few minutes. Maybe in the meantime, we're gonna look at another fun or interesting prompt that you might have if you work in the CRM space. So imagine you are Salesforce, you're HubSpot, and you as a marketer, you most likely get some substantial organic traffic coming from all of those CRM topics. What are the best CRM software is a relevant keyword for you. And if we look at that keyword, you're interested first and foremost, is an Google AI overview visible or not? And in this case, Otterly already gives me that information that for this keyword, for this prompt, there is no AI overview right now on Google. We monitor that weekly for you. So you would get a weekly report if that ever changes, and suddenly Google also shows an AI overview for that. In addition to that, we'll also show you a snapshot right here. So that's one example where your journey with Otterly already starts. But as you mentioned, your friends are already researching on ChatGPT. So let's take a look. What's the output there, right? The mechanics of ChatGPT is a bit different, right? There are less backlinks, there are less URLs, depending on the model you use. You might see citations, you might not see citations. In this case, you do see that on ChatGPT, Salesforce and HubSpot are mentioned as relevant brands. What's interesting here is that Salesforce rather gets a negative brand sentiment for being very expensive and also complex for especially small businesses, while on the other hand, HubSpot gets a very positive sentiment. So if I would be a marketer, a digital marketer, Salesforce, I'm probably not super happy about that answer generated by ChatGPT. And I can start digging, right? Why is that answer given as it is? I might be able or interested to monitor brands over time. So if we look here, as I already started that prompt a few weeks ago, you can see that this week, only 2 brands were mentioned. In the previous weeks, multiple brands were mentioned. And depending on the week, also the LLM output is changing, which is quite interesting given that given the way ChatGPT generally works in terms of LLM output. But these are all insights that allow me to first and foremost, A, understand what's going on ChatGPT, and B, potentially optimize, change my content strategy, change my brand strategy to be also more visible on ChatGPT. But I mean,
Which
if you're still, if
so sorry. Just wanted to mention, Tom,
yeah,
that it's interesting because as we know from news is that Search GPT, the new search of ChatGPT, will also come out. So they basically want to build obviously a competitor to Google. So
yeah,
that's also one thing. So I found that really interesting, of course. I mean, this is why we are co-founders on that. But it's also interesting in the way that it seems for me that, as you said, SEO is not dead. There are obviously links still existing, which
yeah,
are important to watch and to monitor, but they obviously they work differently, and they are not like hundreds or thousands of links, but you basically have a few links to be yeah, placed there. So I think that the game is still on, and maybe we can continue in our next podcast. Maybe we have some final words because we're already
yeah,
at the end of our
yeah,
podcast. For me, it was
yeah,
super interesting.
yeah.
Tom, I enjoyed
I,
talking to you. Maybe you want to
same,
give some
same.
last words.
I mean, famous last words. We definitely continue that conversation, and I recommend everyone listening to also follow us along the journey of both building Otterly as well as analyzing the different LLMs and the AI search platforms out there because they are regularly changing. As you heard me say, Google is regularly pushing out new features. Same goes for Perplexity and ChatGPT. So if you're up for it, Klaus, let's chat once a week. Let's do some deep dives. I know we've done already some fantastic research around link citations and how they're different on Perplexity compared to Google. So yeah, as said, SEO and Google are definitely not dead. It's evolving, it's changing, And I hope many marketers follow us along that journey to be prepared for that future.
Absolutely. Tom, it was a pleasure. Thanks a
Yeah,
lot. And everyone who hasn't heard it often enough, but you should give it a try. Otterly.AI, the new AI-based monitoring software. Just try it out. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn. We are happy to have conversations. We would really love to discuss the future of AI-based searches and SEO with you. So thanks a lot for listening in, and yeah, hear you next week.
yeah. Have a great one, everybody. See you next week, Klaus. Bye
Bye.
bye.